I'm Salad, Mint Salad, and I saw Live or Let Die. It is directed by Guy Hamilton, written by Tom Mankiewicz. If you haven't seen this movie, I will spoil it for you. This is Roger Moore. No more Sean Connery. Rip Sean Connery. However, Roger Moore, upon watching this movie, I started to like him. And then by the very end of the movie, I was like, oh my goodness, he's better than Sean Connery. And I'll tell you why, but later. This movie starts and 3 M16, M1, MI6. I've been pronouncing it wrong, so now I just have forgotten how to pronounce it. MI6, M16, whatever. The organization, 3 of them are dead. 1 man's behind it. Who is the man behind it? It's up to James Bond to know. What I like about this entire movie is the interaction structure in which James Bond and the main villain have. James Bond is working for the British government. He goes down to Jamaica, he goes into cars, and it seems like every single car that James Bond goes into in this movie, the driver is working for the bad guy. Each time they try to do some new maneuver to either make James Bond pass out or to restrain him. This guy has a chick who reads tarot cards. She pulls tarot cards and she keeps pulling the card lovers. She's like, what does this mean? What's going to happen to me? And James Bond convinces her to sleep with him, even though she knows better. She knows that if she were to sleep with James Bond, her power to read the future via the tarot cards would disappear. And that the person that she's working for, which is the bad guy, she would get murdered. And yet, the allure of James Bond is so great that she can't resist sleeping with him. With all of that in mind. And of course, she loses the power to read the future with her tarot cards. And it's kind of sad how the tarot card future teller works. First of all, what are tarot cards? I keep seeing them in pop culture, especially the past couple of years. Maybe it's just because I'm exposed to them, obviously, because tarot cards seem to be a very old concept. Oh wow, pull a card and you get to predict the future. That's as old as time. Humans love to fantasize about the future. What could happen? What could this thing mean? What could this thing mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? That's just like human nature, bro. So it makes sense that tarot cards exist. I just don't personally believe in them. Oh yeah, cat and mouse chase. So every time that James Bond goes into a car, it's usually somebody working for the head honcho, and this head honcho seems to be trying to get James Bond to meet up with him, and James Bond is trying to meet up with him. James Bond is also always trying to leave the situation. He's always trying to leave these cars that these people put him in, or these restraining situations. He's always trying to leave. But these people are actually helping James Bond get closer to the head honcho. But he doesn't realize it. So the entire time, you just see a demonstration of this guy's wealth and power and influence. Not even force. He's not forcing anybody to do anything. I'm sure he's paying them well. It also seems that everything that James Bond does, this guy has totally accounted for and is 2 steps ahead. James Bond might think that he's in control, but actually this guy is in complete control and he's moving James Bond in the way that he wants. And I think that is awesome. I don't think we've had a villain like that before, especially with such great power and influence. There have been wealthy guys in the past, but they've been kind of reclusive, or they're mostly focused on some sort of scientific experiment, so they're not focused on influencing the community. This guy, he is super duper into influencing the community, and that's why he has so much power, and that's why James Bond is so much in danger when he's in Jamaica. And speaking of Jamaica, I like how in this movie it focuses more on the inland shots versus the beach shots. Dr. No has a lot of beach shots. If you want to see the beach of Jamaica, go watch that movie. This is about the grass and the wetlands and so many palm trees, probably a bunch of mosquitoes in Jamaica. This guy's doing a whole heroin thing, and I'm like, man, if you only waited 10 years and changed that drug from heroin to crack, you'd be in with the United States, baby. Got him. Yeah, he's smuggling heroin. The only exposure I have to heroin is train spotting. Train spotting doesn't make it seem like a very positive experience. But this guy is making bank. He's like, you know, here's the idea. We have a ton of heroin and we give it to a bunch of people for free. So they have to come back to us. They become addicts. The goal is to have double the amount of addicts by next year or 10 years from now. I forget the time frame, but it's a time frame and he wants to double the amount of addicts in America. And I'm like, no, it's not a good idea. Our infrastructure is going to freaking collapse. And it's about how people are handling the drugs, not the drugs themselves. Just a clear distinction. There's also that guy with the claw hand. It's pretty creepy. I like how he can bend metal. It's pretty epic. It's terrifying. And there's also this train fight scene at the end when James Bond defeats the big bad honcho because he's selling heroin to everyone in America. That's no good. He's like giving free samples. I mean, I understand the idea. You want to get free samples so when they run out, they go to you for the drug because they know what your drug is. You know, that's the same thing with like Jimmy John's or anything that gives you stuff for free. That's the same. That's the concept, is that you want their product because you already got a taste of it. You're not going to buy something that you don't have the taste for. That's a little bit risky. Claw hands on the train and tries to get James Bond and he pushes them out the train window. I'm like, that's so cool. And then the movie just ends on them riding a train. It's fun, this cat and mouse chase. I was more interested in the relationship between head honcho Badman and James Bond. Honestly, that was the most interesting part to me because I just kept noticing that James Bond was being duped the entire time. So in this one, he has sex with one chick and then makes out with a chick. Rip her, I guess. Definitely has sex with one chick twice. Surprisingly monogamous for our James Bond. He usually has sex with more than one chick in the movie, except for Goldeneye, I think what it was, whatever. Anyway, what do you think of this movie? I like it a lot. It's a fun cat and mouse chase, and I feel like it adds some flair to the James Bond films that we haven't really seen, especially with Roger Moore's performance. I feel like he adds more depth to the character than Sean Connery did. Don't get me wrong, Sean Connery is a good James Bond. I feel like he's a good model, a good reference to the character of James Bond, or at least the starting character. But I feel like Roger Moore, he adds a little bit more depth to the character. And there are the normal James Bond quirks, but I feel like with the way that he carries himself, the way that he talks, the way that he acts, it just feels like he's embodying the character more than Sean Connery did. It feels like Sean Connery was just there for a paycheck, versus Roger Moore is like, yeah, I'm James Bond. Yes, here I am. I'm Bond. James Bond. He starts to say that a lot more in these movies. I'm Bond, James Bond, and he says that every time he introduces himself, versus in the earlier films, that's kind of more of a natural process that starts to develop, and then it's caught on. It's like, oh, we should use this phrase more, and then they do for the rest of the movies. Let me know what you think of this movie in the comments below. I've got to give it's a solid 7 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another on the platform you like. Set $20 dinos, patreon.com/ASEPresents for one movie review per 1 month. Go to this link tree to support the daily grindiness of all them daily movies, so go here. And until next time, I'll see you to my Sal croutons and bacon bits. Also, I should mention, Live and Let Die, the song. I heard that song before watching this movie, and so when I heard that song, I was like, wait, that song's for this movie? What? That's such an awesome song. Live and Let Die. I just have it in my head now. Alright, I'm gonna go thank that band personally. Adios. I think it was like Paul McCartney and some other guy. I don't remember. Little dog.